Ice damming this time of year is a real problem, especially in houses that have something that bumps out. In this case, you've got a bay window and you've got about 3 inches of ice buildup on top of the gutter. Now, sometimes people get new gutters and they're like, oh, why is this not working? Why are we getting water in our house? Well, part of the problem is that water is only, or I should say gutters only work when water is in its liquid form. This is rock solid. But what's happened here is you've got an overhang on this house that is approximately, looks like almost 2 feet, which is great. And you even have a couple of areas over here where you have some soffit vents. You can see right there. And it's dirty, which is, again, a good thing. And that's telling me that this house is actually breathing in the summertime. It's sucking air in from the underside. And when the vents are not covered up, as unfortunately they are on this house because it's sitting underneath approximately 6 to 10 inches of snow, and those vents are completely clogged. Think of it like chewing meat. You know, you want to chew your meat before you swallow it. Well, what's happening here is it's clogging. It's the whole windpipe is clogged. So a roof wants to breathe in from the underside and breathe out through the top, but it can't breathe out through the top. So what happens is the air is getting stuck inside of that little triangular space. We call that a conditioned attic space above the ceiling, between the ceiling and the roof. And what ends up happening is that heat ends up rising, and then on a day like this where it's right around 32 degrees, is it starts to melt. It comes down to the edge because it's melting, because the space where that attic is warmer than the outside air because it's not well ventilated. And then it gets to these spaces over here where it is actually where it's cold, and then it starts to refreeze. Now there are some different areas that tend to be especially problematic, such as bay windows. Some houses in this community have closets or little bump outs in their kitchen where they don't have much soffit. Also very common in Cape Cod style houses that are basically kind of like built like the Monopoly house. You know, you don't have any soffit or any overhang whatsoever. The ice comes down, it melts as soon as it gets to the gutters, and then it builds up and builds up and builds up, and then you get here about 3 inches of snow. So what's the solution? Now, there's certainly some roofing solutions where you could remove the roof and remove the gutter when it gets warm, because roofs really shouldn't be, according to the manufacturer, they don't really want them installed at temperatures of 45 degrees, less than 45 degrees. But what you could do then is put your ice and water membrane on the roof and then overhang the fascia so that water really wouldn't have a place to back up to. Because when you nail down the shingles, then the membrane, so the ice and water membrane, is actually supposed to make it so that it's impermeable almost. It's more water resistant. The ice and water membrane acts as effectively a gasket. But the other solution is that you can fill a nylon stocking. The quick solution is you fill a nylon stocking full of calcium chloride. I'm going to give you an example here. Here's a little calcium chloride I've got in the back of my truck here. It's always good to keep something in the back of your truck in the cold months here in Wisconsin because, well, you don't want to slip slide around the roads, right? But if you use this calcium chloride, you fill a nylon up and then attach a rope to it. And then, and I'm just talking about fill up like maybe a foot and a half of a nylon. And then you attach a rope like a clothesline to the bottom of it. And then you just go ahead and you chuck it up on the roof. And it looks ridiculous. So you're going to pull it down so that the nylon is actually perpendicular to the gutter, so it's hanging over, looking like an icicle or two. What's going to happen then is that makes it so that you're creating a point of least resistance. So water always is going to follow the point of least resistance, and when it does that, it's going to go over the top of the gutter instead of backing up into your home and causing damage to your drywall or to any of your internal furnishings. Another workaround would be after the ice goes away, what you could do is you could put these heater coils on the roof, like little zigzags. They look like zigzags. Some people find them to be fairly unattractive, but it is what it is. If you've got a problem area and you don't want to replace your roof right away, and maybe you're in a situation like this homeowner, they probably have another 8-10 years left on their roof. So are they going to replace the roof to do that overhang with the ice and water membrane? Probably not. So in that case, you would plug in this heater coil. It's like a wire that goes above in this case the window on the roof, maybe up about a foot, and it goes up and down. I'm sure that you've seen them if you live in a cold weather climate. Anyway, so you do that, and then you plug it in late November or mid-November. You unplug it in March, and you're perfectly fine. It just creates a small amount of heat that keeps those areas clear, and then you don't have any problems with backup. So those are your three primary solutions. One, obviously, is the roofing solution, the most expensive. Two, an intermediate solution, which would be the coils. And the quick and easiest and the least expensive would be basically just get a nylon filled with calcium chloride, chuck it up there, and pull the rope down until you create that little valley so that water can make its way over and help to keep you protected. Hope this helps. Have a great day, and take a look at Milwaukee Roofing. And here's a bonus pro tip. A lot of these houses that are built in the 1950s, they wanted to add a little bit more space onto them, so they bumped out a little bit more space so you have more actual sellable space for their builder. And but the problem is that you have, sure, you've got an overhang here, which is fantastic. That's a vented soffit. That's great. And you'll notice here that you don't have a whole lot of ice that's built up there, because this is a very well ventilated attic. But now you've got a space here that it has no area where where cool air can get in, because it's built all the way out to the edge, just like a Monopoly house. So you've got approximately 2-3 inches of ice sitting there up on top of the gutter. In this case, this homeowner doesn't have to worry about it, because this roof was recently replaced, and actually they've got better ventilation than 90% of the houses in this community. And that ice and water membrane overhangs the fascia board.